Good morning, everyone. I am David Talbot, Managing Director and Head of Research at Red Cloud Securities. We continue now with another uranium company, Baselode Energy. Baselode is searching for the next world-class uranium deposit in the Athabasca Basin of Saskatchewan. And as you will see, James has a unique take on what you should be looking for. We welcome here James Sykes, CEO to present to you today. James, you have 15 minutes, and then we'll take a 5-minute Q&A session at the end. Attendees, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A link below. Please take it away, James.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dave. Yep, Baseload Energy. We are exploring for high-grade uranium outside of the Athabasca Basin area in the Basin Rocks, where we think things are a little bit more simplistic. Our disclaimer. So why Baseload Energy? Well, we do have high potential projects that we believe are targeting the right model in the Athabasca area. Myself, I do have a proven track record of about 550 million pounds of direct and indirect uranium discoveries. We have a very tight capital structure with about 40% controlled by insiders. Uranium fundamentals are probably better now than they've ever been in the past 50 years or more. And we are currently, our exploration targets for our shadow property are still on the go, and hopefully we'll be able to start that. Just a little bit of corporate overview. We've got about 50 million shares outstanding, 31 million in warrants and options. Our capital structure, we've got about 7 million total, 6.1 million in working capital side. Insiders own about 40% of the company, as mentioned, and 36% of the ownership is through our parent company, QC Copper and Gold. The other retail investors have about 35%, and then institutional and funds about 25% of the company. We've been able to pull in about $250,000 through warrants being exercised, and we've got a pretty strong cash position moving forward. So about 6 million in cash position. Average burn rate's probably about $100,000 per month, and yep, things definitely look great. Our share price has done really well, especially going from our IPO, which was done at around 10 cents. And by the end of 2020, we closed at $1.10. So significant gains for our shareholders. Very awesome to see. And we expect this trend to keep going higher and higher as uranium fundamentals improve, and also Baseload proves up our thesis. Baseload's part of a group of companies called the OR Group. There are five companies that are currently listed, and insiders are basically aligned with all of these companies. It's a very strong in-house financial and technical team, and so we share with we share information between a lot of the groups. A lot of the administrative side is shared between all the groups, and then each group has their own real technical expertise. So, such as myself with Baseload Energy, and the whole OR Group is the brainchild of Mr. Stephen Stewart. Definitely a genius in all aspects of exploration side of things and management, and organizing these companies and making them what they are today. You can see on the bottom there some of the returns that have been posted and some of the strategic investors that we brought in, such as Eric Sprott. So it's a great platform and allows you to get into the OR Group. That if you're looking for copper, then there's that option. It's not one company looking for multiple commodities, multiple companies looking for one commodity each. So it is definitely very attractive that way. Uranium, as mentioned, I think this is probably this might be the most exciting time to get into uranium. This chart goes back to 2000, but if for anybody who knows the uranium space, between 2005 and 2007, uranium took off it's like a bull in a china shop. It was absolutely incredible. A lot of investors made a lot of money. They're great stories, from pennies to tens of dollars on returns on shares. So what we see now are that the fundamentals are not only the same now, but they're even better. So simply, you've got far more demand now and less supply than what happened back in 2005. So that drove up the share price. So we do see that this could be, or where we are now in this whole cycle of things. Basically, we're around that 2005 mark. The fundamentals are there for uranium spot price to just take off, and especially with all of the green climate and CO2 the world combating CO2 emissions, trying to get to global net zero, one of the best ways to do that is nuclear energy. It's the cleanest and safest form of energy out there. So we can assume, or would like to assume at least, that we will see more nuclear energy demand growing in the next 10 to 20 years, especially when small modular reactors come online. Those have the potential to completely change the entire landscape of nuclear energy and help meet the global CO2 emissions. So why Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan is elephant country for high-grade uranium. It's not only the uranium side that's really attractive there, but the province in itself has set itself up to be very straightforward, especially on the licensing and approval side of things. For exploration, there's a lot of data, and even exploration has been very easy to get going. Infrastructure is already up there, and resources to sustain a uranium mining industry up in northern Saskatchewan, it's already there. You've got big groups like Cameco, you've got Orano up there. These are some of the world's largest uranium companies. And then the Athabasca area, you've got one mine, Cigar Lake, that's producing about 15% of the global uranium production. That's one mine. So you find a high-grade deposit like that, you can be a global supplier. So we do feel that Athabasca is the right area. The high-grade deposits in here are much lower cost operations compared to your alternative jurisdiction. So again, when you want to explore for uranium, you come to elephant country. And this is the Athabasca Basin area. What we are doing is we've taken a unique approach. There are other companies who have gone out there and look outside the Athabasca Basin sandstones, or in the basement rocks outside of the sandstones, looking for these open pit deposits or even declines. And it's not that this is new. Just the way that we have approached this whole situation is focusing far more on the structural side of things and really trying to look at what makes deposits tick. And we're pretty confident that we've got a very good handle on that. So as you can see, the Athabasca Basin area is the green. Our properties are outside of the current Athabasca Basin margin. And why is that? I will touch on that very shortly. Both projects 100% owned. We have no underlying option or royalty agreements, about 76,000 hectares. So why outside the sandstone? We're calling this Athabasca 2.0. The original discoveries were made in the basement rocks, Athabasca 0.0. And then everybody started looking into the sandstone because you're getting McArthur Rivers, you're getting Cigar Lakes, that's your Athabasca 1.0. However, there's a lot of technical difficulties with that. So by stepping outside of the basin, you don't have that sandstone cover, which sandstone equals water. The basement rocks are easily accessible and they're very competent. You have your deep structures forming in here, and you do get different sets of your structures. What we do know, especially over the past few years, a lot of recent Athabasca discoveries have been hosted in the basement rocks. So why stay in the sandstone where it is now? Why not step outside and start looking into the basement rocks and just focus on there? So again, simpler geology with the Athabasca 2.0 or competent rocks, easy mineability. And just some certain examples there: Arrow, Rabbit Lake, Eagle Point, Uranium City. All of those are between 50 to 200 million pounds or more. Those are big deposits. Whereas your traditional style, your unconformity style, you've got the sandstone, you've got your incompetent rocks, so you need freeze programs. You've got your mining engineering difficulties. Both Cigar Lake and McArthur River flooded twice. It just leads to a higher capex. So we want to avoid all of that and just focus on something that's a little bit more easier mining solution. So on this example here, if you look at the right-hand side of the map on the green, everything to the right-hand side of the green line has been mined out, and those were all basement hosted, open pitable style deposits, with the exception of the Raven Horseshoe deposits that are to the south there. Anything in between that 0 to 100 meter sandstone thickness, so between the green and red, those have also been mined out, but they've been done via open pit, and they are in the sandstone cover. Once you get about 100 meters sandstone cover, it's not mineable. You have deposits there like Midwest, Dawn Lake, that have, and the McLean deposits. They've all been there since the 70s or 80s, and they're still not going forward today. Why? Because that sandstone is the problem. So to do an open pit in the Athabasca, in the sandstone, you're literally looking down to about 100 meters. After that, that water infiltration rate's just, it's too much. So if you can get down to if you're looking for something deeper than 100 meters, you got to start thinking about freeze walls. And I saw this firsthand with the Rough Rider project. Only 200 meters down, conceivable open pit at the time. But again, I just have to ask, where is it nowadays? So what we do think where our projects are, especially with the Hook project, which is on the Wollaston domain. Wollaston domain has hosted over 2 billion, not million, 2 billion pounds of uranium. And if the basement rocks were the source rocks for uranium, then your average concentrations for the rocks are about 3 to 4 ppm. So a Hook project in the same domain can still lead to large deposits. The Shadow project, which is very interesting, the host rocks over in that area are about 5 to 6 times as high as the Wollaston domain. And we know that there's deposits along the same trend as the Shadow. So we think that the host rocks in the natural setting is already there to host a large deposit. So the Shadow project, it is along a very large structure. We'll get to it here. This structure runs very deep. We're seeing it kilometers below depth. But the key takeaway that we're seeing here is the amount of conductors that we're seeing. And conductors have led to many uranium deposit discoveries in the past. If you can see on the northeast end of the property, there's a few conductors, all these red lines in the pink colors. And then by the time you get to the southwest end of the property, they've bifurcated and they've expanded, and it's almost like some sort of capillary reaction. But this is the type of environment that you want to see. This is where you get fluids moving. And in the world of uranium, you need your fluids. You need to mobilize your fluids and then find the traps. So this is the perfect area for fluids, and because of the amount of structures that we're potentially seeing here, this is where you get your straps as well. So we do feel that this area, especially the areas that we've highlighted, Key, Arrow, and our Eagle Sioux analog areas, those have the potential for making these basement hosted discoveries. So we're very excited about Shadow and are hoping to continue exploration on this property sooner rather than later. The Hook project, again, which is on the east side of the basin in that Wollaston domain, we are just outside of the Athabasca. So again, Wollaston hosts a lot of large deposits. So we're hoping that Hook is in the right area as well. Why is Hook in the right area? If you look on the map on this side, there's that red dot south of the property. The Hook showing, which has uranium veins at surface that run about 44% U3O8. That's an insanely high grade right at the surface there. However, these veins trend onto our property. But what I also want to note is that if you follow the red dash lines, that's a magnetic low that you can actually trace for quite a while. I've always had my mind kind of focused on this. Like, does this have any significance? Because if you look where McArthur River and the Hook showing is in relation to that, they're both associated with this northwest trending mag low. So you've got two areas with extremely high grades in structures. So what's happening down at Hook? And we know that there are historic work done on Hook that have shown radioactive pegmatites or radioactive swamps. There are boulders with up to 1% U3O8 on them. So our plan is to go through all the historic assessment work, figure out what has been done, and where do we take our current understanding of what we know now as baseload and move that forward. So why baseload energy? Again, we are targeting these near surface, high-grade basement hosted deposits. We have a district scale portfolio in the prolific uranium jurisdiction, and we're looking to get that moving even more. We've got an amazing management team and board with a proven track record, not just uranium, but other commodities as well. And we are very well capitalized and ready to aggressively explore in the Athabasca Basin area, looking at prospective targets. Board management, that's who we are. Thank you very much.
Perfect timing, James. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right.
We do have some questions here, so why don't we kick it off? Has drilling started on the Shadow project, and when might we expect results?
Unfortunately, drilling has not started on the Shadow property. We are still waiting for permits on that. So I don't know when we will get permits. It's the Saskatchewan Ministry of Environment are the ones who issue that. And yeah, they just simply haven't issued them right now.
Okay, that sort of leads us into the next question. Does the current COVID situation, is that really benefiting your exploration, or is it slowing you down? And is that part of the issue?
COVID has definitely affected a lot of things. So the ministry is consulting with the First Nations, and COVID has played a large role in delaying a lot of the consultation processes, outbreaks in communities and things like that. So yes, COVID has definitely played a large role in the delay in issuance of permits.
Okay, and can you update us on the impact of that First Nations blockade?
We're still actively trying to move forward with them in a very positive manner. The ministry are the ones who are supposed to be consulting, and so it is in their hands at the moment. So we're trying to see what they will, what sort of resolution they will come to, and they're supposed to be meeting this week, so we will see what actually happens with that.
Okay, perfect. Why do you believe that the basement rocks are more simplistic or to search for or easier to mine?
I'll be very honest, I think searching for uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin is much easier just because you have that sandstone. That sandstone's like a painter's canvas that as soon as you throw in these massive alteration layers, they blow right up into the sandstone. They're very easy to visualize with geophysics. So exploring for the uranium in the basement rocks, I actually think is even more challenging than in the Athabasca. But when it comes down to the mining scenarios, mining in the basement rocks or even open pittable deposits in the Athabasca have already proven to be far more lucrative and just easier to get going. And that's history has shown that. You've had 60 million pounds of uranium mined from Uranium City. You've had all of these open pits. Key Lake, 200 million pound open pit. There's only 2 mines that have gone underground in the Athabasca Basin. That's Cigar Lake and that's McArthur River. Why? Because they're monster deposits. They're over 300 million pounds. They're over 20% average grades. So you need that combination of monster grade, monster size to go underground in the Athabasca Basin. But if you have all these discoveries outside of those constraints in something much easier, that's what makes sense. And so it's all about structure.
Great, thank you. I have a question here about the Hook project. You have a 44.5% U3O8 intersection there, or it might be a grab, I'm not sure. Why don't you start working on that project instead of the Shadow project?
We are just so the hook showing is not on our property; it's on a neighboring property. We're using that as an analog for being in the right area that the structures trend onto our property. So yes, we will be looking there. We wanted to wait until the summertime though, so that we could get boots on the ground and try to see more of the bedrock exposures. Just really looking for this, but also following up with a very detailed aeromagnetic or radiometric survey, so that can help us point into certain areas where there might be these occurrences happening. Hook, there's a lot of historic assessment work done on it, so that's kind of why it's been bogged down. Why we went to Shadow first. Shadow was a little bit more outside the box thinking, which is what Baseload is kind of about. We're looking at things in a completely new way, which is why we believe that our Athabasca 2.0 strategy will be the next big discovery. But Shadow, looking at Shadow, it has a lot of the makings that, from what we're seeing internally, could lead to a deposit. It's just no one's ever looked in the area, so we thought it was the easiest project to get going, and in a timely fashion. It was pretty straight. Airborne geophysics, do gravity, boom, you're out drilling already.
Perfect. Okay, last minute, so I'm going to ask these 2 questions together. What are the current challenges or difficulties in targeting drill holes, and are some geophysical methods better to use than others?
Personally, I like gravity. Gravity has been my go-to. I've seen it work in many different jurisdictions, not just the Athabasca Basin, but anywhere that there has been structurally controlled uranium deposits and you're looking for those clay alteration halos. Gravity is the go-to methodology. It's just, when you're looking for clay, that's a lower specific gravity. So you're looking for gravity lows. And for me, it's just been pretty straightforward as that.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. Up next, we have USISR uranium developer Untitled Energy. Take care.